The most developed societies in the known cosmos convened as the Galactic Council to deliberate on an extraordinary danger. This council was made up of entities from worlds with unmatched technology and intellectual prowess, took satisfaction in upholding universal order for every member. Symbolized species that, in the eyes of lower worlds, had long before beyond the boundaries of what Earth could be, was still only a young planet dealing with its own archaic disputes and environmental mental health problems. Due to the enemy's intensity, the Council was compelled to take into account every possibility, even the most improbable threat to the galaxy. Was unlike anything that had come before it, an old, terrible force that was unrelenting. Their methodical conquest of the farthest reaches of known space left a trail. Whole civilizations have collapsed in the wake of the ravaged worlds, despite all obstacles. The Galactic Council realized that a united front was necessary, so they deployed their most sophisticated defenses. Regardless of perceived significance, all capable species were called upon to participate in the endeavor. Earth was joined this alliance out of need rather than deference, and upon the arrival of Earth's representatives, they encountered skepticism. The Galactic Council believed that humanity was an archaic species with crude techniques and antiquated technologies. The Council's conception of war was based on archaic ideas of valor and sacrifice. Considered obsolete for generations, they had depended on accuracy and synthetic intelligence, reducing the need for people to endanger themselves. There was poorly concealed contempt for the notion that Earth could offer anything worthwhile. Earth's delegation was under the direction of strategists and scientists who didn't feel comfortable around the galaxy's towering intellects. In contrast, their arguments were unpersuasive when Earth suggested sending a soldier friendly, some angry 30-person warrior made up the watch list. With Council was perplexed by just one person they thought was powerless to defeat the invader, but Earth's tenacity won a consent. They were permitted to send one representative and any warrior they wanted. The choice to send a U.S. among Earth's armed forces, the Marine Corps, was known for creating trained to adjust, persevere, and perform well under tremendous pressure. They represented a mix of mental toughness, athletic prowess, and unwavering discipline. The outsider special effects department, instead of representing cutting-edge technology, the Council aimed to represent Earth's faith in the human spirit. The Marine was chosen because Folly Earth's leaders thought it was their finest opportunity to prove humanity's value. The mission was not selected hastily. Thorough assessments were carried out, evaluating mental toughness, strategic thinking, and physical prowess. The person who stood out as the best fit has participated in innumerable missions and survived circumstances that were thought to never be under. Their capacity to maintain composure in the face of fire, combined with their natural comprehension of both human and non-human, they were specially qualified for the Galactic Council because of their psyche. In a world full with brilliant minds and sophisticated technology, this human warrior seemed like an uninteresting and unremarkable figure. Cybernetic warriors' skepticism of the alien commanders was evident when the Marines first appeared before the Council. They whispered to one another, their faces showing both interest and contempt. How could this one person, without any obvious improvements or exceptional skills, that could aid in the galaxy's defense? The Marines, however, remained unwavering. They recognized the skepticism, but had no time for introspection. They were there to act, not to discuss, and the Council's approach was straightforward. The Marine would go through a number of tests intended to push their mental and physical capabilities. These tests were designed to test the galaxy's most sophisticated warriors' capabilities, assessing warfare strategy and endurance failure skills, which they thought would be. For them, this was unavoidable, and more about demonstrating Earth's worth than it was about giving it a chance. Despite its insignificance, the Marine readily accepted the challenge as they readied themselves for training. During the trials, they had access to some of the most advanced training in the galaxy. The feeble tases intended to break were crushed by the harsh circumstances created by gravity in these facilities. The Marines' meticulous approach to these difficulties was noted, modified, and persisted by using a combination of instinct and experience as tools. Although the situation is unknown and we are alien, the fundamental principles of the Marines remain the same: analyze and adapt. And triumph. The Galactic Council initially observed the trials with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Their skepticism appeared warranted because the Marines' unusual tactics frequently appeared ineffective or careless. But as each obstacle was overcome, it became evident that the Marine had a strategy, only responding but anticipating with a combination of intuition and reasoning that perplexed even the most sophisticated. The Marines' tenacity was what most impressed spectators, although other participants had noticed the Marines' appearance before. At the battle, several days before the funeral, the Marines appeared to rely on the Marines' used technology to make up for their shortcomings. But they also depended on pure willpower, and the Galactic Council had undervalued resourcefulness as a trait that demonstrated a readiness to persevere and adjust, even in the face of. As the trials went on, there were whispers among the Council when the odds looked insurmountable, from skepticism to curiosity, which then started to evolve into something like respect. The Marines' performance was unquestionably effective, even though it wasn't flawless. It attacked every task from a different angle, combining conventional fighting methods with original problem-solving ideas. This flexibility, combined with an unwavering determination, started to question the Council's assumptions regarding the Marines' triumph in the trials represented not only a personal triumph, but also a rejection of Earth's. It served as a lesson in humility for the Galactic Council, rejected Earth as a backwater planet that couldn't advance society. But there was a representative who displayed attributes that were impossible for technology to duplicate. The user, not the tools, was what counted. By the end of the trials, the Marine had gained the reluctant respect of the Council, which was gradually starting to grasp the lesson. Even the most critical reviewers acknowledged that their performance was more than just a show of talent. It was a testament to once defiantly united in their rejection of Earth. The Galactic Council discovered that the human spirit and inventiveness were strong enough to convince them of anything, even if they were reconsidering their position. There was no questioning that this lone warrior had accomplished what many said was impossible. But this was just the start. The trials had shown that Earth was not without merit, but the real test was still to come. The Marines had earned their spot in the upcoming conflict and had an opportunity to demonstrate. For the first time, the Galactic Council will discuss the value of humanity on the galactic stage. Started to think about the potential that Earth's contribution could go beyond the archaic and outdated the idea of progress that society had for sending millions of humans upon Earth. Despite the pressure of uncertainty and anticipation, Marines standing tall was prepared to demonstrate to them what humanity was really capable of. The cosmic training grounds were made to challenge even the most skilled warriors to their limits. Guaranteeing that only the most talented could survive in these harsh and purposefully designed surroundings, the Marines entered this situation to take advantage of any physical, mental, or emotional vulnerabilities. Globe as an outsider who is not familiar with the culture and technologies that define the difficulties that each moment in this area would be an exercise in flexibility and fortitude. As the difficulties were continually, the training modules evaluated participants on a variety of competencies, such as strategy. The alien warriors' stamina and fighting abilities were exceptional during these tests. Each participant had a unique advantage because to their genetically modified bodies and neural enhancements, the duties with the accuracy of their species, using techniques refined over millennia, the Marine, in contrast, they were no such improvements after centuries of experience. Generations instead brought with them a strong will to succeed, practical ingenuity, and an unwavering definition of purpose. designed to cause gravity changes in severe weather, requiring participants to adjust. The extraterrestrial warriors with advanced sensing technology were always moving as they approached. The Marine depended on keen observation and prompt decision-making instead of mechanical precision. Using their physical stamina and pattern recognition, they adjusted to the shifting circumstances. Overcome the obstacles. This trial established the framework for the subsequent demonstration of how human flexibility could compete with even the most sophisticated instruments. As the activities increased in difficulty, one scenario featured a high-stakes simulation in which participants having to eliminate dangers while safeguarding delicate resources. The extraterrestrial warriors tackled this with a separate efficiency through the use of technical aids and pre-programmed plans. However, the Marine demonstrated the capacity for dynamic thought as they evaluated the situation, not only as a test, but as a real-world issue. And by fusing intuition and reasoning, they found flaws in the simulation's architecture and took use of them to accomplish their goal. This ability to adjust, and even among those who had initially disregarded the Marine, under pressure started to garner notice. The endurance test, which assessed both mental and physical stamina, was the most taxing task. Strength to withstand extended hardship. Ideological individuals were put in a setting that replicated severe conditions of isolation and constant stress, are designed to shatter even the most resilient minds. And many of the aliens, despite their superior physical prowess, warriors found it difficult in this situation. They were ill-prepared for the trial's intense psychological toll because of their reliance on technology. Conversely, the Marines compartmentalized their training and life experiences. Stress concentrated on short-term objectives and resisted giving up. One defining quality that shone out was resilience, which is so ingrained in the human experience. The turning point occurred during a trial that integrated all of the above tasks into a single, ongoing simulation in which participants had to traverse a hostile environment, resolve challenging issues, and participate in combat situations. The extraterrestrial warriors adhered to their procedures when facing erratic foes. Using tactics that had been ingrained in them over time, the Marines nevertheless tackled the assignment with extraordinary precision. Using the combination of intuition and imagination, they found unorthodox solutions, using the data technology to capture people's opinions and experience, using the Marines creators had not expected, that by the end of this experiment, the Marines would have accomplished the goals and done it in a way that went against expectations. The Marines' uniqueness during these trials wasn't perfection, but while other participants depended on their technical advantages, the capacity to adjust and overcome. Marines showed a basic comprehension of problem solving that went beyond the resources at their disposal. Success required more than just strategic thought or physical stamina. It required an unwavering faith in their capacity to succeed despite all obstacles, a trait that is so ingrained in the alien warriors' initial disdain for the human spirit. Starting to change how the Galactic Council perceived the humans, with a mixture of admiration and interest, the Marines started to observe someone who, despite undoubtedly being more intelligent than they, was unique in so many wildly unexpected ways. They might compete equally with just willpower, and for the first time, the Galactic Council also took notice of ingenuity and started to challenge their beliefs on the boundaries of humanity. The Marines' accomplishment was not an anomaly. Rather, it was evidence of the distinctive characteristics that set Earth's warriors apart by the end of the trials. The Marine had not only made it through, but also performed exceptionally well in ways that few had predicted. Their success was determined by their ability to adjust, persevere, and go past obstacles that were intended to be impossible, which validated Earth's capability in a galaxy, in addition to being a win for the Marine. The Marines' performance served as a reminder that in a world where strict hierarchies and cutting-edge technology rule, the capacity to think and act outside of the limitations of programming was both powerful and unpredictable. Trials have shown that a warrior's character was not defined by the equipment or improvements, strength, but their capacity for adaptation and tenacity. The Marines personified this reality. The Galactic Council demonstrated that humanity's greatest strength was not its technology, but rather its unbreakable spirit. Despite their hesitancy, they were unable to rule out the idea that Earth's warriors could have something special. The Marines had earned their position in the battle against the intergalactic danger, not by supremacy of instruments or methods, but by virtue of the characteristics that characterized humanity at its peak. The galaxy. The Alliance readied themselves for the impending conflict with the extragalactic foe, who was not just strong but also tactically brutal, using enormous fleets, cutting-edge weapons, and unrelenting tactics to overpower its adversaries. The Alliance's leaders carefully prepare their defense, utilizing the greatest resources from. The goal for each participating civilization was to develop a plan that optimized technological advantage by reducing the vulnerabilities revealed in earlier conflicts. The Marines, having demonstrated their value during the trials, was now included in the strategic talks, and the Marines' opinions. Whereas the majority of the Alliance were originally skeptical of its reliance on human impulses, and conventional fighting techniques weren't appropriate for a battle this size. But the Marine provided viewpoints that questioned accepted wisdom, stressing the need of flexibility and the must consider alternatives to pre-programmed strategies. This unconventional method started to impact the Marines' comprehension of human unpredictable nature in the strategic planning process, and their capacity to take advantage of flaws and opponents who seemed unbeatable gave the negotiations. The Alliance prepared its forces in enormous fleets, outfitted with the galaxy's most cutting-edge weapons, were placed in key locations. Within one of these fleets, the Marine was given a crucial position and entrusted with commanding a specialized force. Despite being small, it was built to respond quickly and make crucial interventions during the Marines' assault. Humanity's capacity to make a significant contribution to the Alliance's endeavors was thought to be put to the test through leadership. It became evident that this would not be a routine combat when the enemy's forces eventually arrived. Their ships appeared in overwhelming forces that dwarfed the Alliance's combined fleets, and the battle's early stages were harsh. The Alliance was forced to its limits by the enemy's overwhelming firepower and well-coordinated tactics, despite their lack of invincibility. By the calm demeanor of this special duty and the stoic outline, they couldn't have produced more than 50,000 IRA civilians. The Allied forces found it difficult to hold their positions swiftly and took advantage of weaknesses to cause disarray among the coalition. The Marines' leadership was crucial during this pandemonium, whereas others mostly depended on advanced systems and skill sets. The Marine employed a more hands-on approach, identifying automated answers patterns in the enemy's strategies and created counters quickly, allowing for real-time adaptation. Enabled the Marines unit to make important progress in places where other units were failing to. Not only foiled the enemy's schemes, but also gave the Allied forces one of the most important turning points in the conflict. Occurred when the adversary used a brand new weapon and a sophisticated technology that might disable. Using focused energy pulses, this weapon caused panic in whole fleets. However, the Marines spotted an opportunity because the Alliance's defenses were not prepared to deal with such a threat. Chance by examining the weaponry's patterns and coming up with a strategy to neutralize it with their unit's agility. With unorthodox methods, they were able to enter the enemy's lines and neutralize the weapon. This bravery changed the course of the conflict, enabling the coalition to reorganize and counterattack the Marines' efforts, provided the Alliance with strategic insights that went beyond direct battle. They underlined the need of utilizing the surroundings to their benefit in order to adjust to the adversary's changing strategies. Using geography and natural events to produce unanticipated benefits is a dangerous strategy. Shown the Marines' capacity for original thought and decisive action in effectively thwarting the enemy's plans became a key component of the Alliance's strategy, and as the conflict went on, the Marines' influence grew more essential. Clearly, despite their modest size, their unit achieved disproportionate success, and therefore, their success was a result of both their talent and their capacity to motivate people around them. Others were inspired to go above and beyond by the Marines' unflinching spirit and tenacity in the face of tremendous circumstances. Boundaries, this knock-on effect raised spirits throughout the alliance. Fostering a feeling of purpose, the opponent realized that the last stages of the conflict were the most severe because there had been a lack of unity and purpose. Made a desperate drive after their initial advantage had been undermined, this was their final effort to break the Marine was essential to the Alliance's defenses and victory. This stage of a crucial operation to interfere with the enemy's chain of command. The Marine and their unit caused confusion and chaos among the enemy's fleet by attacking strategic nodes. Battling forces, this interruption enabled the coalition to fortify itself and execute a well-coordinated counteroffensive, and the coalition won a fiercely contested victory. Although not completely vanquished, the enemy was compelled to retire. This victory came at a costly and resulted in large losses for both parties, yet it was a turning moment. The Marines' role in the battle demonstrated that the intergalactic opponent was not unbeatable. There was no denying their win. Their efforts had not only thwarted the enemy's goals, but also proved the worth of human resourcefulness and tenacity. The Galactic Council, which had previously doubted Earth's contributions, started to reconsider its viewpoint. The Marines had demonstrated that, despite lacking sophisticated technology, humanity had special abilities that machines could not duplicate, or improves their capacity for original thought and adaptation to unforeseen problems and motivate others, had significantly impacted the battle's result. This insight signaled the start of a change in the way the world was perceived, and its role in the Alliance, as evidenced by the Marines' activities during the fight, were a mirror of humanity's potential, as well as a monument to their own prowess. Had demonstrated that resilience was more important than technology or physical prowess in determining strength, and persevere in the face of difficulty. This triumph, albeit being the result of teamwork, carried the indelible mark of the Marines' leadership and resolve. The Galactic Council originally limited themselves to the battle system. The Galactic Council originally just given the outcome. The Galactic Council met after the fight to examine the outcome. They examined each tactic, action, and outcome in an effort to comprehend the Marines' contributions, which they earlier thought were unstoppable, helped them repel an enemy, became the main topic of their conversations after being written off as a sign of Earth's participation in their assumptions were validated by the Marines' actions, which were perceived as an antiquated and archaic method of war, had shown to be crucial in ensuring the Alliance's continued existence. And the Council members were renowned for their reliance on superior technology, and reasoning was compelled to face their biases for millennia, and they had made decisions based on the idea that sophisticated instruments and mechanisms could resolve any. Yet, the Marines' achievements questioned this notion of flexibility. The Marines' inventiveness and tenacity demonstrated a lack of knowledge about effective warfare was not only about efficiency and accuracy, but also about intuition and the capacity for non-conventional thought. As the Council examined the battle reports under pressure, it became evident that the Marines' actions disrupted the enemy's strategy, which had ripple effects beyond their immediate wins, made it possible for the remaining Alliance members to reorganize and counterattack their strategies. But unconventional approaches had worked in ways that sophisticated algorithms and pre-planned strategies could not have predicted. This insight compelled the Council to admit that, despite their comprehensive strategy for warfare, they lacked the ability to move actively according to its intentions. The Council also noted the Marines' adaptability and unpredictable nature, describing how the Marines' leadership affected other people at the battle's most crucial moments. The Marines' tenacity and will had motivated not only their unit, but also other units inside the Alliance, brought people together, and inspired individuals who had been on the verge of giving up to fight with newfound vigor. It was a characteristically human quality to lead and inspire that no machine or artificial intelligence could match, quality one that the council had misjudged, and many council members found this change in perspective difficult to accept, found it difficult to reconcile their perceptions of Earth as a primitive and unimportant planet with the Marines' reality. Furthermore, there was opposition to the notion that one person could represent an entire species. Thought to be inferior could have such a significant effect, but the data was unquestionably. The Marines' achievement was not an exception, but rather an example of what humanity may achieve in the face of overwhelming odds. The conversation finally shifted to the wider ramifications of the Marine victory. The Council started to wonder if its reliance on technology had led to complacency. Despite all of their progress, they had not anticipated an adversary who would adapt and take advantage of their predictability. The Marines' capacity for creative thought and decisive action had revealed the shortcomings of their strategy that resulted in a rigorous reassessment of their priorities and strategies. One of the most important lessons learned. The significance of flexibility was demonstrated by the Marines' actions during the combat and contributed to cultivating a professional sense of loyalty and discipline during the combat, which demonstrated that even the most sophisticated systems may be outwitted by a competitor with innovative ideas. This flexibility wasn't only a product of instruction but also a representation of humanity's overall encounter with Galactic. Due to its history of struggle and perseverance in the face of hardship, it had acquired traits that were not respected in the Galactic community. The victory of the Marines in the Galactic community was evidence of the fortitude that came from confronting and conquering. Nevertheless, the Council also started to see the need of diversity in their alliance after they had depended on uniformity. Believing that their combined technological innovations would be sufficient to guarantee victory, the Marines' viewpoint, influenced by the particular difficulties and experiences of Earth, added something fresh to the variety. This variety of perspectives and methods turned out to be a significant benefit, emphasizing the necessity to accept and incorporate each alliance member's strengths, irrespective of their perceived standing. After coming to these conclusions, the Council chose to formally acknowledge the contributions of the Marines. Not only an expression of appreciation, but also recognition of Earth's potential as an important partner in the alliance the continent began making of its own alliance with the Roman Republic of which it was a member. Commanders and officers alike made bunkers in their strongholds. Because of Marines' achievements, humanity's status had increased, countering the narrative of inferiority that had long defined. For the first time, Earth's link with the Galactic community was viewed as an asset rather than a liability. Capable of making a significant contribution to the Alliance's endeavors, the Marines' actions also provoked more extensive conversations. Regarding leadership and bravery, the Council had consistently placed a high value on teamwork and systemic effectiveness over the achievement of individual Marines, but illustrated the value of human initiative and the strength of individual responsibility and their capacity to make crucial choices in the heat of combat without depending on predetermined techniques, stood in sharp contrast to the Council's reliance on automated processes and rigid structures. Systems, which prompted a reconsideration of the conception and development of leadership. The Marines' accomplishment had an impact on the alliance that went beyond the Council. Chambers among the alliance members, there was an increasing understanding of the significance of Earth's contributions. The Marine narrative became a representation of tenacity and optimism, encouraging others to reconsider their views on mankind. This change of viewpoint opened up new avenues for cooperation and communication, paving the path for a more dynamic and open alliance. The Council's recognition of the Marines' accomplishments also had useful consequences. They started integrating aspects of Earth's strategy into their plans. Combining technological training methods for precision with human flexibility were revised to prioritize creativity, and the knowledge gained from the Marines' actions served as a basis for critical thinking. In addition to technical skills, The battle had been a turning point in the development of new strategies and tactics for warfare, not only in the conflict, but in the Alliance's self-perception of the Marines' accomplishments, compelled the Council to face its prejudices and reconsider its priorities, demonstrating that power was not just derived from wealth and technology, but also from the capacity to adjust, motivate, and endure. This insight signified the Marines' legacy was not the start of a new era for Alliance 1, when Earth was a major player. Not only about their personal achievements, but also about what they stood for. They had demonstrated that even the Alliance's tiniest and most undervalued members could have an impact by challenging their activities. Assumptions sparked transformation and reinterpreted what it meant to be a fighter against insurmountable odds for the victory. This lesson would influence the Galactic Council's choices and tactics for future generations. The battle's aftermath changed the Galactic Alliance Earth's dynamics. Previously seen as unimportant, they now occupied a position of renewed respect because of the Marines' contributions, which demonstrated that the whole world was drawn to peaceful actions to fight and address gaps and disparities. A larger portion of the nation than usually watches were in favor of a tribute to the larger intergalactic community. Formal recognition of Earth's achievements, no longer seen as an outsider but as a valuable member of the Alliance, came about as a result of the Galactic Council's historic decision to offer Earth full membership and equality. Status as one of the most developed civilizations in the Alliance, this choice was more than symbolic. It signified an acknowledgement of the characteristics that set humanity apart from the Marines' actions. Had shown that innovation's adaptability and durability were just as important as its advanced technology, the Alliance's future planning would now incorporate these attributes and growth in the community. With this new standing, Earth's efforts allowed it to have a say in how the Alliance representatives were asked to share their thoughts on strategy in high-level conversations, resource management, and diplomacy. These contributions were first received with prudence, since some council members continued to doubt Earth's lasting worth. But as the Alliance confronted fresh difficulties, it became more evident that humanity's method provided new perspectives that enhanced the advantages. A change in the Alliance's training was also influenced by the legacy of other civilizations. The Council started integrating aspects of Earth's military philosophy into their standard plans. Techniques such as a focus on flexibility, critical thinking, and the importance of individual well-being. Later, these modifications were applied throughout the Alliance's forces, resulting in the formation of a new generation of warriors who combine the accuracy of cutting-edge technology with the resourcefulness and fortitude demonstrated by the Marine Earth's representatives faced difficult obstacles during humanity's ascent within the Alliance. Political dynamics striking a balance between their recently acquired power and the demands of more established. The Marines' triumph had opened possibilities for civilizations, but it also put pressure on them to demonstrate that Earth's leaders put in a lot of effort to create partnerships and share their knowledge. Understanding and show their dedication to the Alliance's objectives, the Marine narrative came to represent inspiration throughout the galaxy, striking a chord with species that had struggled for acceptance and equality. The notion that one person from a little-known planet may have such a big impact on such a big scale is true. Its possibility generated discussions about Alliance inclusivity, fostering a wider understanding of the Alliance's members' varied powers, and Earth's incorporation into it also provided real advantages to access to cutting-edge technologies, and knowledge by humans has sped up advancements in science, medicine, and infrastructure. These developments enhanced earthly life by resolving long-standing issues and producing prospects for development, while Earth provided its own insights and innovations that helped the Alliance's overall development. This intellectual interchange promoted respect for one another and cooperation that made the Alliance stronger overall. The Marines' impact went beyond their prompt action. Their narrative served as a springboard for conversations regarding the characteristics of brave leadership and the Galactic Council started working to explore the potential of underutilized abilities. Programs were created to find and develop such strengths in other member civilizations, encourage non-conventional thinking, flexibility, and collaboration by taking the Marines' example as a model. These efforts contributed to the development of a more unified and dynamic alliance that is better prepared to face the future and difficulties as Earth's responsibilities within the alliance increased. Humanity was no longer a spectator but an active participant in the alliance's endeavors, which included assuming new missions and leadership positions, sharing the load of defense and helping other members. These obligations were fulfilled by civilizations with a combination of pride and resolve, as the Marines' legacy also influenced Earth's efforts to establish itself as one of the galaxy's most developed powers. The way that humanity views itself as a planet that has frequently been split by internal strife, the Galactic Council's acknowledgement was a unifying event that made humanity realize its potential to overcome obstacles with collaboration, resourcefulness, and fortitude. This change of viewpoint and generated a renewed feeling of purpose that motivates initiatives to resolve global concerns and improve Earth's standing within Earth's community. For its part, the Galactic Council, the Alliance, kept learning from the Marines' activities, and the impact their victory had emphasized the drawbacks of depending only on technology, and the Council started looking at standardized methods, strategies to strike a balance between their sophisticated systems and the human traits that had worked so well in the conflict, such as giving other civilizations the chance to showcase their special talents and cultivating a culture of tribe. The Marines' actions also reflected a collaborative culture that encouraged diversity and ingenuity, a long-lasting effect on interstellar relations. Their tale served as a reminder, understood there were several ways to be strong, and that each alliance member had something worthwhile to contribute to this viewpoint, which promoted a change from strict hierarchies to a more inclusive method of governance. The alliance started to place a higher priority on collaboration and support among members, laying the groundwork for, with solidarity and fortitude in the face of adversity, the Marines' impact paved the way for a new era in the alliance's acceptance of the galaxy. Every incident, Earth signaled a start of a wider appreciation of the importance of varied viewpoints and methods. The lessons from the Marines' conduct continued to influence the Alliance's tactics that kept the Marines' legacy flexible and ready for whatever obstacles that might arise. It was not only about their individual accomplishments, but also about the strength of resilience they exemplified, diversity's worth, and the potential of even the most underutilized members of the Alliance's deeds had altered the path of history, leaving the galaxy permanently altered and opening the way for a more promising and inclusive future.